Hey everybody, Garrett here. I wanted to do a little audit of Stripe, one of the first companies in the Cloud 100, actually the number one company in the Cloud 100, and walk you through kind of my process of how I think and some of the opportunities I see for Stripe. And we'll just be doing this all live, so I've never looked at this before, with the goal of, if you're an in-house marketing person or you're an agency, to see potentially how others think and process opportunities with your search marketing. And then, obviously, if you're at Stripe, these are some ideas that maybe you could execute. So what I wanted to start by doing is just go to the website. What I'm finding here is you have online payment processing. So they have online payments. They're trying to really go heavily into the online payment space. They have obviously different business units and other ways of which they take market share, like Atlas and other very cool, innovative products around startups and how they're helping, but they're also do a lot for pretty much for very large enterprise companies as well. So let's take a look at how they're positioned for online payment processing. Okay, so we want to understand how essentially if someone's searching for online payment processing, where do they show up? So one of the first things you're going to notice is Stripe is not bidding aggressively in Google search ads around this term. There can be a lot of reasons for this. They could have very good analytics around their cost per acquisition and decided that they don't want to bid on these terms. They usually they could be showing up individually as their own website above the fold. That's not really the case. You'll see them down here. And it doesn't seem like third-party sites are hugely involved, except here's one on paymentprocessing.com. So when I say third-party sites, what we're going to look at is essentially the referral fee or the ad space or the cost per click is so lucrative for paymentprocessing.com. They're not very fast, though. That's obviously problematic as I'm trying to do this audit. I'd bounce. Prospects most likely going to bounce as well. But what happens here is a lot of times these sites essentially are so profitable, they have no cost of goods sold. They essentially just aggregate reviews and then position themselves that they can actually advertise now with PPC to just increase overall clicks. Because let's say, so you're this site, right? You're paymentprocessing.com. You charge anyone on the site $50 for a click. Google's charging you $25. That extra $25 is your profit margin outside of admin and any type of development or upkeep costs. So it's a very profitable type of business, so they can aggressively advertise even on expensive terms, because then they can also turn that one click on Google Ads into 3 clicks on their site. So essentially they could charge 3 different people who are shoppers comparing against those clicks, and that's how these sites make money. Or they rent you the space for number one. They'll say number one spots $20,000 a month, $30,000 a month, $100,000 a month, and you can do it that way as well. So we're not going to look at that because it's too slow, but that's how those sites work. So what we want to look at now is if there's any opportunities. Okay, so let's see the volume on this term. Let's see if we like it. So you're going to see 1.6 thousand queries a month. I don't really trust the CPC. These are all relative data. So in other words, if you find other keywords that you're looking for and it's more expensive than this, you could assume that that keyword is relatively more expensive. Don't assume that it's absolutely $13.36. So use all SEMrush, Ahrefs, Moz, Majestic, any tool you're using as relative data to compare things, but don't treat it as absolute. It rarely matches Google Ads or organic in Google Analytics here. So with that in mind, we're going to try to figure out essentially what I would do to position Stripe to be discovered on this primary keyword that they're obviously targeting their title tags as well as their homepage and other products. So we're going to check out the number one result. Now what's really cool, and a lot of people don't know this, is Stripe could treat this listing like a native ad. So they could essentially take out an ad from Google's display network, from GDN, here, and essentially position themselves as Paychex is obviously doing here and other players. This is the native ad, and this is the Google display ad a lot of times. And so let me see if it has GDN because it doesn't look like it's showing Google AdSense. So you have Stripe here. So they're discoverable in this third-party review site. But we want to increase that discoverability and essentially target these types of opportunities and these types of opportunities because we know that essentially this article is taking up about 28% of the market share. So when there's a search intent that's commercial, like this query is, or specific, you're going to see anywhere between a 32 to 26 to 27% click-through rate. So if you're Stripe, you want to ask yourself, okay, if our own website isn't necessarily showing up here and we're not bidding here, usually for a much cheaper cost per click and the same buying intent, you can go into third-party sites or news sites and get a lower cost per acquisition. This looks like a third-party review site, so let's take a look. Yes, it is. And they're not here. So once again, if you're Stripe, this is market share you're losing on the keyword that you're targeting on your title tag and your homepage and you're making your business about. You're losing market share to similar players like Square that are in the market. And so you can see other popular ones, but this isn't necessarily a paid position. The paid position of this post, where you're getting all the click-through rate and you're getting the majority of your kind of opportunities, is going to come right from here. So it'd be wise, in my opinion, for Stripe to at least test this model against their target CPA to see if they can acquire customers profitably from this position, and this would be a third-party review site. Now, let's go back and see what else exists. So we have one opportunity here in Google Ads, an opportunity here for a native ad or using GDN if an option. It looks like it's mostly native. Here as a third-party review site. And we have over here our little competitor named PayPal, tiny little guys. Zapier, from what I understand, doesn't do paid listings, so this will just be a blog post that they put together. See, if I were them, it doesn't seem to be done alphabetically. So I would reach out, maybe send a nice gift to Matthew and say, hey, Matthew, it doesn't look like you organized this alphabetically. We have the same processing fees, and actually we're cheaper on no additional fee. I think it'd make a lot of sense for us to be number one. They also don't have to seem to be monetizing this in any way. So I think you could reach out to Matthew, send him a nice gift, and see if it isn't possible to essentially get moved up on the list if you're Stripe. Another little tactic there. Let's go back. And then we have this here. Now, something that's important to note is anytime I see a primary keyword and your homepage is ranking for that, it's usually actually a bad sign in a very competitive industry because you don't necessarily have this page, which is your payments page, ranking. So theoretically, they're actually cannibalizing their own keyword to their homepage instead of their product page, and then leading with essentially what's called a brand term here. So you notice Stripe Payments, they're positioning themselves essentially brand first, which is great here. It's not great in the title tag. So you already have Stripe here. I would say a complete payment platform or complete payment software or payment processing, whatever that is, but I would leverage my page, my product page to rank if I saw my homepage ranking for a competitive query. So it's a really easy opportunity for them to shift essentially the links that they're building around payment processing to their homepage, to their product page, change their on-page targeting, internally link appropriately, and then take market share much more effectively. And that can obviously help them grow. Another thing that I think would be wise, and we can look at really quick here, is if I'm Stripe, I'm going to want to do what I call bubble keyword analysis. You're in a large organization at Stripe or a large marketing team, which I'm sure they have, and you really don't need to go over the top with resources all the time. A lot of times you still want to be wise, and the best opportunities essentially have the highest impact, the lowest cost, or the least amount of time. And so we want to find those ideas. One of the easiest ways to do that is you take this like stripe.com, throw that in your SEMrush, and what you're going to want to do is essentially go over here to our top organic keywords. From this, we're going to take our positions, and I call this a bubble keyword analysis. So every time we're outside of the top three, now remember from earlier, if you're outside of the top three, you're going to have a pretty drastic decrease. 6 to 7% click-through rate versus 11 to 18 to 16 to over almost 30%. So if you're Stripe, you don't need to necessarily, the top 10, ranking the top 10 is like an old way of looking at things in my opinion. You really want to know how often are you in the top 3 or in the top 5. And so what I'm seeing here is a bunch of kind of random terms. Now, ACH credit, cool term. Payment processing, right? A great term. We've already talked about that one a little bit to a certain extent. Recurring payments, another strong term. Let's on recurring payments. A lot of SaaS companies use Stripe for their billing. Let's see how they target recurring payments on the site. So essentially what Google is saying is this is the most relevant page we're finding for that term. So once again, Stripe is leading heavily on brand in the title tags. I think this is a mistake. And now they have managed subscriptions, recurring payments, and billing. Okay. Then our H1, billing and subscriptions, but not recurring payments. So we're missing our 2 largest opportunities and says that we could put this, recurring payments, managed subscriptions, and billing, and then put Stripe billing here and just add billing at the end of the title tag. Okay, just an easy way to reorganize it. Still get your brand name in there, but not decrease click-through rate. And I would confidently argue that with the size of their domain authority and their page authority, they could see some success by just moving some things around. So let's take a look at recurring payment and just understand the competitive landscape. Where they're at. So they're here. Page authority 53. So they already have a better page authority, if you can see here. So what I'm starting to say is they already literally have the authority to rank. They just have their on-page targeting off so much that they're not. So these types of little changes are a great way for Stripe to essentially increase lead volume. And I'll measure it, obviously, against their CRM integration and their sales team to say, okay, did we like the profitability of the deals that we were acquiring? What was their close rate? And then from there, they can obviously be highly successful. So this is just some easy opportunities for Stripe to take market share and continue their market dominance. So hopefully this helps and you can see how I would help improve and grow Stripe from an organic, paid, and just overall search marketing position. I would look at third-party review sites. I would experiment with Google Ads. And then I would really focus on my on-page title tags across my whole permalink structure, as well as really focusing into my greatest opportunities that are most aligned with my product set. So in other words, are all of my products fully discoverable for my highest volume queries that are most aligned with our ideal customer persona or our value proposition? And as long as you can connect all those things together, it's very easy to take market share with search marketing. So thanks.